And a lot of carnivores that come on there, or a lot of people who are against the vegan diet are coming troll with let's have feelings, or if you're vegan, you're killing more animals than not being vegan. There's a lot of biases out there, but one bias is called confirmation bias. You're gonna only look for information that confirms that, right? And one of my favorite books of all time is called How to Win Friends and Influence People, right, by Dale Carnegie. And in that book, he talks about a topic about you convince a man against his will, he's of the same opinion still.
Be careful how you use that word plant-based, because I feel like it's also like a hijacked term. And I feel like sometimes, even when I go into the supermarket and I buy stuff and it says plant-based, I still have to read the ingredients because sometimes everything in there is not vegan.
Let's not kid ourselves, right? The meat industry, the dairy industry, the egg industry, all these are billion-dollar businesses. And a lot of the propaganda and a lot of these research papers are funded by these industries.
Welcome to the I Choose Health podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Lessie. Today we have vegan coach and trainer Justin Strickland joining us on the show. And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? There is definitely something keeping me from my happiness and accomplishing my goals. I need to take stock of my depression and consistent negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize that I was deserving of happiness. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health. It was about me choosing happiness, and I wanted to share that with you. That's why I wanted to and have partnered with BetterHelp as a sponsor to share the gift of therapy with you.
Over 4 million people have used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. People spend hours in the gym every week, so why not give your mind the same kind of attention? Starting therapy can be hard. The right therapist for you may not be in your area, and some people find the face-to-face interaction of therapy uncomfortable. With BetterHelp, you can have your therapy sessions as a phone call, as a video chat, or even via messaging if you prefer that. Whatever is the most comfortable version of therapy for you. BetterHelp can match you to one of over 30,000 therapists in their network, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise that may be available in your area. To get started, you fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you'll get matched with your therapist, in most cases within 48 hours or less. You'll be able to schedule therapy sessions at a time that's convenient for you. If the therapist you're first matched with doesn't feel like the right fit, which can be common when starting therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. If you think you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month with a licensed therapist.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the I Choose Health podcast. I'm stoked to be with you guys again. We had that interview with Fallon Morningstar, and she went into women's health and talked about what she does in terms of helping women regain their vitality. And we're going to be looking at and going into vitality on a different level today, and it's very much linked to actually our very first episode. Our first episode, we interviewed R&B artist Honore, and Honore is also vegan, and he shared his experiences and why he became vegan. But I want to delve a little bit further than that, and we're going to be doing some, I call it vegan myth busting today. All right, because so often we hear people say, well, can you be fit and strong on a vegan diet? And we have someone here that can definitely answer in the affirmative. All right, he's a personal trainer. He's done over 500 transformations with clients on a vegan diet, on a plant-based diet. And, I am really excited to have today Justin Strickland, or as he goes by, Fueled by Plants. How are you doing today, Justin?
Man, what's going on, man? Great introduction right there, man. I feel honored. I appreciate you for having me.
No, thank you for coming out, man. And you're hailing from Mississippi all the way. And I know you said I said I gotta get out there. You were like, "Hey, it's not too much happening," but I know we can't sell Mississippi short.
Well, we can't sell it too short, man. I'm from here after all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So tell us, man. I mean, what led to you? Well, first, becoming vegan, and how long has it been since you became vegan? You made that choice.
Yeah, so I've been vegan probably about a little over 7 years now. It was 7 years in November. And one of the main reasons why I went vegan, it was oddly enough a YouTube video, right? So YouTube video kind of sparked the curiosity. And after that, went down the YouTube rabbit hole, all the documentaries,
Yeah.
a whole lot of information just popping in my mind. And I actually went vegan, cold turkey or cold kill, as I call it.
Yeah, and I've been, I guess I'm an old school vegan. I've been vegan now 17 years, but I was actually vegan before Meat Your Meat came out. All right, so that's
Yeah.
those of you vegans who know, that's a cult classic within vegandom. Meat Your Meat, and then I think one of the other documentaries that came out, I don't know if that was necessarily vegan or plant based, but I think there was What the Health. And then there was also Food Matters, documentaries like that were so impactful. And I started to see after those documentaries that it was a trend towards people eating healthier, towards people becoming vegan, becoming plant-based. And I don't want to, let me be careful how I use that word plant-based, because I feel like it's also like a hijacked term.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes, even when I go into the supermarket and I buy stuff, and it says plant-based, I still have to read the ingredients, because sometimes everything in there is not vegan. I don't know if you can even speak to that and maybe tell us what the difference is between vegan and plant-based.
Well, yeah, so I talked about this a whole lot on my Instagram and YouTube channel. And there are some similarities, but for some people, it's a lot of differences, right? But for me personally, when it comes to veganism, is usually from an ethical standpoint, doing it for the animals and spreading awareness about animal cruelty, factory farming, and things like that. And plant-based, sometimes people refer to plant-based as just not eating meat. So sometimes people include certain animal products in that, but really what plant-based should mean is completely vegan, but for health reasons, most cases. That's what I kind of figure out. Yeah.
And to even take it even further, I actually think vegetarian should mean the same thing, but I think we're such flexitarians that we want to be called a certain label, but we still want to be able to enjoy certain things or maintain certain behaviors. And to me, if you're going to really go all the way, go all the way. Don't just call it vegetarian, but then say, well, I still eat fish and maybe eggs every now and then, or butter. Do the damn thing and,
right.
Go all the way.
Man, and I do a lot of reaction videos on my Instagram, and I did a reaction video to Kim Kardashian. She was talking about, well, I'm vegan, but today I'm eating some chicken, or today I'm eating this. And a lot of people, some people think that way too. Like, oh, I'm vegan most of the time. Or
fries and chicken nuggets.
I'll have regular
I'll
fries.
just a little more fries, yeah. Thank you.
I'm a vegan most of the time. 98% of the time. But today I'm going wild.
First off, I don't watch the Kardashians. Someone sent me this video to react to it. The fact is, someone can't be vegan part-time. Either you're vegan or you're not. Veganism is a stance for the animals. It's not just something you can turn on and turn off. And sometimes we just want to have that term, like you mentioned, flexitarian. Look, if you're vegan, you're vegan. If you're not and you do it sometimes, just call it that, right? Maybe you shouldn't use the term vegan, and it's cool, right? We have different definitions for a reason. But most of the time, I feel like people are trying to go in the right direction. So it's all good, man. Yeah.
as I said, we want to really get into some vegan myth busting today. Yeah, now you've trained well over 500 clients, right? Gotten them to their goals, their adaptations. How many of your clients at this moment would you say are suffering any deficiencies or feeling like they're lacking anything? Like, how many of your clients would you say fit into that category?
Yeah, so when it comes to my clients and the people that I help, I almost never get anybody telling me that they're deficient in anything, right? Now, when a person comes to me, maybe their diet isn't the way that it should be, and we fix that and correct that immediately, and then they're completely fine. But none of my clients really struggle with any of that. In fact, I actually got my blood work done, a couple months ago, and my doctor told me that, my numbers are completely incredible, and my B12 is actually too high. So I was taking the supplement, and I said I may have to take the supplement a little bit less because of my numbers are so good. So yeah, it's a lot of misrepresentation in the vegan community and people thinking that you can't get the right nutrients. Yeah.
Touch on that a little bit, because I remember when I became vegan, one of the things that they talked about was B12, the cyanocobalamin, right? And that vegans is not found in any plant-based foods, is not found in any plants. Vegans are not getting enough. And because they're not getting enough, now they're probably subject to having, heart issues, any cardiovascular issues. Touch on that a bit, and maybe even go into maybe even vegan foods out there that actually have a significant or decent amount of B12 in there that's actually able to help people who are thinking of going on a vegan diet or that have been on a vegan diet for a while. Touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, when I first went vegan, the main thing was vegans can't get protein, right? That kind of been demystified a little bit. There's still people out there that say you can't do it. Mm-hmm. These people are living under a rock, obviously. But the same thing with B12. People think they can't get enough B12. And actually, B12 doesn't even come from animals. It actually comes from the bacteria, in the soil. And most animals are injected with certain supplements so people can get B12 through them. So I digress, but B12 isn't such a hard or difficult thing to get. You can supplement it. Obviously, certain foods have it. Nutritional yeast has B12. A lot of foods are fortified with it. Plant-based milks have B12 in it. So it's a lot of different places you can get it. So it shouldn't even be that much of a concern, right? A lot of it is really propaganda, if you really think about it. So people shouldn't even be worried about it, honestly.
Where would you say that propaganda started? Like how did we get to a point of knowing scientifically that B12 was actually plant sourced, but people got it secondhand through the eating of animals? How did it get to a point where we're saying that no, B12 comes explicitly from animal sources, not plant sources? How did that propaganda start? If you could give us some information on that.
Yeah, a lot of it comes from a lot of these big factory farming institutes. A lot of it comes from a lot of mainstream media. And let's not kid ourselves, right? The meat industry, the dairy industry, the egg industry, all these are billion-dollar businesses. And a lot of the propaganda and a lot of these research papers are funded by these industries, if you really think about it. And that's where a lot of the propaganda comes from. And it's very hard to interweave in between all of the propaganda, so to speak, and really get to the real facts of it. And that's why I spend a large majority of my day just doing research and bringing all of these things to the light. That's why a lot of my content really focusing on a lot of the myths and really demystifying all the myths so people can, okay, so he said this, but I heard this over here, and B12 doesn't come from meat. It actually comes from plant. Fish don't even have omega-3s in it. It actually comes from the algae, and we get it from a secondary source. Okay. Now I'm really so I try to demystify all of that so people can understand, right? So when people say, I'm not vegan because I need protein, or I'm not vegan because I need B12, that's not really 100% the truth, right? So I try to make sure I put that type of information out there.
And a twofold question: what is it like for your clients when they first come to you? They're looking for that change, and you suggest well, I guess at this point they probably know that you're utilizing a vegan diet to help with the transformation. But to what extent, what is their reaction to the methods that you're using to help them reach their goals, and then what is their reaction to what they're finding out? Like, I'm sure for them, there's a lot of unlearning that they have to do about the foods they're eating and exercise techniques. And so what is the typical reaction when they realize that, well, I can actually live a healthy life on a vegan diet, actually still be strong, still be muscular, still be really in shape, even though I'm eating a vegan diet?
Yeah, so one of the main things that I hear a lot from my clients is, at first, they don't know if it's 100% possible. Because 50% of the people that come to me are already vegan, but the other half are transitioning. And the other half are kind of scared, right? They hear all the stuff out there. They hear these quote unquote carnivores that got popular over the last few years saying that you can't get no nutrients, anti-nutrients in the plants and all this stuff. So it takes a couple weeks. But once they start seeing the progress, like, you can't argue with results, right? So once they see the scale goes down, then they feel stronger, right? They have more energy because, I lay out a plan that's customized for them. So they are getting the right nutrients, the right amount of vitamins and minerals, and they start actually feeling better. They can't argue with the results. So at the first beginning, they're kind of nervous, which is granted, but we get them on the right type of protocol, and they actually tell me, they feel better than they have in a long time, right? And when they see that, it makes them want to stick to it more.
Yeah. And I think one of the people that you were probably referring to, I think his name is called, I think on YouTube, he's called Liver Guy or whatever. He's eating all this raw meat, and he's lifting all this stuff. And I don't know, I know that the meat industry has a huge role in why we think what he's doing is okay. But have you seen any results, maybe even from clients who were eating a certain way, like when they came to you, what their numbers were at, and they were saying, well, I was eating a lot of red meat or whatever it was, and these are where my numbers were at. Can you speak about where their numbers were at and what their numbers were after they transitioned to a vegan diet?
Well, one demographic of people that usually come to me are people with diabetes, right? So a lot of times people come to me, or either they have like diabetes or high blood pressure and hypertension, things like that. All things that can be reversed, right? So usually they come to me, and the majority of what these people are eating prior are a whole lot of meat, right? So when they come to me, we get them off of that, and we get them on a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet, not all the processed stuff. And their numbers change dramatically. I had one lady I used to work with. We actually got her off of all her medication. Right, she went back to the doctor. 5 weeks later, doctor trying to figure out what she's been doing, and she told her doctor that I'm on a plant-based diet now, and her numbers are getting better. Right, her A1C was at like a 12, which is super high. We got it all the way down to the normal range. So getting on a plant-based diet and really getting those whole foods, high fiber foods, really can help reverse all these things. And a lot of people come to me because they, listen to a lot of Dr. Sebi. I don't know if you are familiar with who that is. I'm pretty sure you are, though. Yeah. But a lot of people come to me from that type of space. So they're trying to heal themselves, but also they want to build muscle and really get fit. So I help them really reverse a lot of these different things too. So
I don't know if you've seen the new Netflix documentary. It was a documentary series on the twin experiment, and they've been looking at, they take identical twins, they put one on the plant-based, one on the vegan diet, and one on just eating a non-vegan diet, and they just showed a variation of changes, in the affirmative or in the positive for those who went to a vegan diet. I don't know if you've seen the shows yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I've been seeing it all online, so I still got to watch it, but I haven't seen it yet, though. I heard good things from it, though.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and I'm always amazed that with all these documentaries, with all the evidences there, peer review study after peer review study, book after book, and we still get to a place where people say, well, I don't think a vegan diet is healthy. Like, I don't know what, like, I think what you're doing and what I'm doing in terms of helping people, transform, is the best scientific way of convincing people and, helping them to lead them in the direction of a healthy life. Is there anything else that you think that we can really do to help people to really look at this information in a different light and really see how it applies to them and their family and the longevity of their life and their family?
Yeah, so I think we have to backtrack just a tad because, like you mentioned, it's still so many people out there that say a vegan diet is unhealthy. Even with all of the information out there, I try to do on my YouTube channel a presentation every few weeks. I did one a while back. It's on my YouTube channel now. And basically it goes over, because there's a lot of people out there like carnivores and people talking about plants have anti-nutrients. So plants are actually poison. It's a lot of people out there talking about that now. It's crazy, right? It's blowing my mind sometimes, right? So I did a whole presentation talking about how anti-nutrients aren't even a problem as long as you're cooking the food thoroughly. It deactivates them. People talking about you can't get K vitamin. Like, it's a whole bunch of stuff, right? So I think when we are talking about educating people to really help them understand that they can go vegan and be healthy, is number one, continue to put the information out there in an understandable way, right? In an understandable way, and let people choose for themselves, right? Because it's so overpopulated out there with this type of information. So it has to keep coming from an understandable place, I feel like, where people can really understand it. Okay, if we're talking about protein, let's talk about how someone can get enough protein. If we're talking about B12, let's really put that in an understandable way. And repetition, I think it's just repetition, man. This is a lifestyle, so we got to treat it that way and really just keep putting the information out there. And that's why I love what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're doing a great job.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of facetiousness out there. I can never pronounce that word. But facetiousness out there where, you'll have people who say, well, plants have feelings too. And, vegans are out here killing these plants by, and eating them. And the average person that I meet says, you know what, like when I tell them I'm vegan, they're like, man, that's too healthy for me, man. Like, I can't do that. And so, if people are going to say that it's not healthy, but then, in normal everyday conversation, then they'll tell you like, no, that's too healthy. I think people generally know, and I definitely feel that as human beings, we definitely know what is right. And I feel like there's just like, because of whatever pleasure it brings to us, and this could be for anybody who's vegan or not vegan. Like, usually we like to do those things that may not be so good for us, but we somehow, a lot of us have like this rebellious spirit towards things that may be good for us. And so sometimes that facetiousness on social media sometimes can hurt the aims and causes of people who are trying to help people see or look at a different way of eating and being healthy. But I mean, there's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, some of the things over there are actually kind of funny, but it is serious Like people's health is serious. People
Yeah.
experience the transformations is serious, and I think it's I don't know how much of that you've experienced with your platform. Like, how often have you come across that facetiousness, or the person who is a scientist or works in the health field and wants to bring the data to show you, well, actually, this is why it's okay to eat meat, and veganism is not what you think it is. Like, how often do you experience it, and what experiences, good or bad, have you had from that?
Yeah, so it's that's a great question, by the way, and it's a whole lot of it out there, right? You have different doctors, have different scientists, and for me, I come at it from a real scientific standpoint. I love going in there and looking at the research, and I love to figure out human nature as well, right?
Yeah.
It's a bias that all of us humans have. Like, it's a lot of biases out there, but one bias is called confirmation bias. So confirmation bias is we tend to look for only information that goes along with our outlook of life and how we perceive things. So if you grow up a certain way and you think this way is certain right, you're going to only look for information that confirms that, right? And one of my favorite books of all time is called How to Win Friends and Influence People, right, by Dale Carnegie. And in that book, he talks about a topic about you convince a man against his will, he's of the same opinion still. So trying to convince somebody of something that don't really want to see it, it's going to be very difficult, even if you show them evidence after evidence after evidence. So I try to come at it from the standpoint of showing them the research so they can try to come to the conclusion themselves, right? Because you have people out there right now that know, or at least seen the information that, okay, a vegan diet is healthy, right? They see the research, but they'll say, oh, that's not true, that's a lie, or that's not true, or this carnivore doctor will say, oh, this plant is not good, and it's just so much out there that people have to filter through. And I feel like and I see it all the time on my page, right? I'll post something and a lot of carnivores will come on there, or a lot of people who are against the vegan diet will come and troll with the facetiousness and, oh, plants have feelings, or if you're vegan, you're killing more animals than not being vegan. That's a new one, by the way. I don't know if you hear that one all the time.
That one is definitely.
If you're vegan, you kill more animals in the fields, and it's just a whole lot of stuff, right? But ultimately, what I really think, though, this is one of the biggest things. I try to get people to the point, just this point right here. You can go vegan and still be healthy. If we can get people to just get right there, then there's no other reason for them not to be vegan except for just their own personal reasons, or they just don't want to give up meat, right? But as long as people think it's not healthy, people will have a false reason not to go vegan. So I try my best to just keep putting this information out there where people know where, you can go vegan and still thrive and still eat the foods that you love and still don't have to limit yourself. And long as they figure that part out, I feel like it will be one step closer, if that makes sense.
And I think a lot of people's concern is not even so much going vegan. I think that one of the things that people think is that there's going to be a sacrifice in taste. And so they're like, well, I got to still get that chicken taste or that turkey taste or whatever it is. Like, I still got to get that. And I think because a lot of families are usually on the go, they're moving all the time. I think one of the things that may be helpful is that if you're thinking of transitioning to a vegan or vegetarian diet, maybe take the weekends, the time that you have to actually cook. Maybe take that time and try something new, experiment with taste, and try something vegan. Just give it a try. And, I think that vegan foods have come a long way in terms of taste. And I think that's just from people experimenting. So even for yourself, for people who are thinking about transitioning, take something easy, like a veggie burger, maybe,
right.
Saute that and mix it with something else, but at least try something that's, going to be a little bit different. And I think people are usually afraid of of change. They're afraid of, maybe disrupting, the taste that they've had from eating meat for so many years. And I don't think that people realize that we all kind of become conditioned and kind of, I don't want to use the word addicted, but kind of addicted to, our tongue is so accustomed to that one particular taste for so long that we don't want to move off of that.
Man, food is such a social thing. What we eat revolves around our social circle, our family. It involves everything. So the fact of people just hearing the word vegan or should I go vegan, they think about everything else in their life, their family, what they gonna eat, holidays, am I gonna enjoy it? All these different things go into their mind, right? And it sometimes can be overwhelming, right? Because another thing too, I watched the video online. I think I actually reacted to it. It was a guy doing street interviews. He was asking the people, name 3 vegan foods. People couldn't name 3 vegan foods. It blew my mind. All you have to do is name three fruits or 3 vegetables, right? But that goes into saying that sometimes people don't even know what vegan means or don't even know what to eat. So they're bogged down and don't even know what they can do or can't do, or is my husband gonna like this? Is my wife gonna like it? And my kids gonna think I'm crazy? Or so all these different things go into it. But if people can understand that, it is a change, but it's actually doable, and it's an easy way to do it. It's not too expensive. You actually can go on a vegan diet on a budget. And things won't really change because it's so many different vegan options out there, right? You can still have the same type of foods that you want, and it won't be as overwhelming as people think that it is. Right?
Yeah. And for the guy or gal that comes to you and says, "Hey, Justin, I want to bulk up. I want to get big, but I see that you're helping people, get these transformations with a vegan diet. I don't know if I can really do that on a vegan diet. Like, how do you approach? Obviously, every person's situation is different, but how do you approach that individual and program for them? And in terms of prepping for them, not prepping, but like programming in terms of their nutrition. How do you go about doing those things to help them maybe achieve what we call muscle hypertrophy? Where we're getting that muscle, we're getting stronger. How do you go about doing that even on a vegan diet?
Yeah, so it goes, whether what type of foods we're eating, it all comes down to the macronutrient ratio, right? Making sure you're getting enough protein. I don't want to go too technical and nerd on you with the protein numbers and stuff like that. But when a person comes to me and they want to build some muscle, excuse me, I just get them to see the other people I've done it for so they can actually believe it first and foremost. Because if they don't believe it, they're going to be in 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So they actually have to believe that it's possible. So that's why I show my transformation, but also show other people's transformations I've helped with. But then I customize them a nutrition plan that actually fits their needs and actually helps them get enough protein, right? And even for me, like I get, no less than 150 grams of protein every single day with ease. Like it's super easy, right? So I show people that you can do it. And I program that for them. And once they actually see that it's possible, then it's easy. It's easy from there, right? The program and the workouts are easy, because nutrition is 90% of the game, right? If what you're eating isn't right, it's going to be very difficult. And that's what people are scared of sometimes, right? They think, oh, how am I going to get enough protein if I eat spinach all day or if I eat this salad all day, right? So we have to make sure we're going at it the right way and going about it the right way.
That's so funny that you brought up spinach because I remember growing up, and if you watch Popeye growing up, they're like, oh yeah, Popeye the Sailor Man, he pops the spinach open and he's got these big muscles.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the producer of that show, what was their thinking, why they specifically chose spinach, but it's just interesting how we went from a society that thought that, maybe we should try to, maybe eat healthier, eat more veggies, more fruits. So now, like, no, we got to eat more meat, more, more dairy, more whatever, so that we're stronger and faster. And I'm just wondering how we kind of shifted, where that mindset shifted.
Yeah, man, it's so funny, man. Like, that was one of my favorite cartoons, right? Eat your spinach. Parents used to say, eat your vegetables. Fruit is good for you. But now it's like the tables have turned, and now vegetables and fruit are being vilified. People say that fruit has too much sugar, stay away from it. Yep. Or vegetables are not good for you because of the lectins and all of this crap. And it's like, oh, so now meat is the healthiest thing in the world? Like, what did this come from? Like, it's weird, bro. But societies change, right? But we have to understand the underlying principles, right? The right vitamins and minerals. Okay, how do we get the right vitamins and minerals? Well, it's a balanced combination of a wide variety of plant-based foods, right? That's how you get your vitamins and minerals. What are the most important things? Well, iron. Let's talk about iron real quick. Iron helps the transportation of oxygen in the body and helps the cells stay oxygenated. That's one very important thing to build muscle. Well, how do you get iron? Let's go back to Popeye. Popeye was on to something, because there's a whole lot up in that spinach, my guy, right? Kale, another thing, right? And a lot kidney beans. That's how you get some iron. But a lot of times, we have to make sure that we're absorbing the right things too. How does the body absorb the right nutrients? Well, we've got to make sure iodine is in the body and present, right? A lot of different sea salts and stuff like that have iodine in it, but you can get foods with iodine as well. So we just have to know the right combinations. But I tell people, eat the rainbow.
Yeah.
Try your best to eat every single color. If you get every single color, you are going to be fine. I promise you. Well, also eating enough food. You can't be under eating, but eat the rainbow. You'll be completely cool. You'll be good.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. You said that. I was actually surprised. I'm not sure if he's vegan as well. Are you familiar with Brawley Games? He's the guy that does those. Do these. I don't know if you've seen him.
I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, I got to look into it. But like, I've heard him say things similar to that, which makes me feel that he's either vegan or plant-based or very close to it. And he has his videos are huge out there. Like, he's probably close to 2 million subscribers.
Oh, wow.
And he's always doing like calisthenics mostly. He's doing these pull-ups and he's jacked, right? Like, looks amazing. And he talks about, I think his family is Jamaican, and he shows his grandmother, who's probably like in her 80s or 90s, and showed, the food that she's eating, mostly plants. I know how she's healthy. And the same thing, like I have that same experience with my wife and her family. Like, her grandmother she's not vegan, but she keeps a very simple diet that's mostly consists of, plants and fruits. And I think if people realize that, if people are generally eating, the plants and the vegetables and fruits provided for us, that generally they have a pretty healthy life, and usually it's the introduction of all the other stuff that actually starts to cause the problems.
Yeah, and it's a documentary online called Blue Zones that I watched. It's a pretty good documentary. I still got to do my research and due diligence on everything that was kind of talked about, but the majority of it seems pretty factual from the research I've done. And a lot of these cultures in blue zones, a lot of these people are not eating a whole lot of meat. Their meat consumption is very low. And if you think about it, when it comes to disease, people that are in these hospitals are not vegans. They're not eating plant-based whole foods and getting dementia or getting diabetes or getting hypertension or gout and all these different things that can happen. It's not from eating fruits and vegetables.
Right.
And nuts and seeds. That's not the case. And it's so disingenuous for a lot of these people out here to spread propaganda, and they know the truth, right? Mm-hmm. They know the truth. 10 years ago, I used to work in a nursing home. I was a CNA, so I helped elderly people. And a lot of those people in those nursing homes were not vegans or vegetarians. They was eating meats. They were eating the bad foods, the processed foods, the things the steaks and all that. That's what was really doing the most damage, right?
Yeah.
So we have to really get back to putting the truth out there. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people are trying to cover up all these things, and I'm here to pull the mask off the statue, so to speak.
Yeah. We're gonna do that. Was it Scooby Doo? Right. Justin is a meddling vegan kid right now. He's
right.
pulling the mask off, showing you, the truth.
Mm.
And I didn't realize we were even talking for so long already. I mean, not long.
Oh
But,
wow, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is, something that's also my passion, as your passion as well. And, it's so important to teach, everyone the truth about eating healthy. And I love the fact that we're also two black men talking about this.
Right.
Because, in our community, there's like, people look at me weird, like, you're vegan and you're black. Like, and I'm also originally from Barbados, right? I'm originally from the island of Barbados, where in my country, people eat a lot of meat, we eat a lot of pork. And I remember a friend of mine, she was from Grenada, I think it was, and she's like, you're from Barbados and you're a vegan? She's like, I know y'all eat a lot of meat there. And it's kind of sad because growing up in Barbados, there was actually a time where Barbados and Japan actually had some of the longest living people in the world. Mm-hmm. And it was primarily, when I speak to my mom, who was born in the 50s, lived in Barbados, which was at that time pre-colonial, right? And she said we were poor, but things were simple, and we ate mostly, ground provisions, your what we call yams and sweet potatoes and fruits and veggies. But it was just a very simple diet. A lot of us didn't really have money for meat like that. And we had people that were in Barbados easily living to 100, right? Like, there was so often that anytime that people in Barbados hit 100, the governor general would come around with the news outlets and they would celebrate them and bring balloons and this and that. And, if you look at how we were eating then, very similar to the lifestyle of a lot of Japanese people, a very simple plant-based diet, and they were living for a long time. And so now, unfortunately, our country now has one of the highest diabetes rates and one of the highest amputation rates. Mm-hmm. And that's because we started to adopt more of a Western diet. We started to eat more like America, unfortunately. I don't mean to come at America, but that's, yeah. And so, I'm really glad that we're able to have this conversation and really, look at the facts, look at the science, and, really put it before people to say, like, hey, the ball is in your court, to make the decision. Like, the information is there. And, it's really up to you whether or not, you want to live a healthy lifestyle, or you just want to live, I don't want to say subpar, but just live below your potential,
Yeah, man, that word potential stands out a whole lot to me. And it's about living or being the best version of yourself. And one of the ways that you achieve that is through what we consume, right? We are what we eat. And that's been a common phrase for years for a reason, right? You got to think about the way that food breaks down in our bodies, and how you was mentioning how your people used to eat back in the day. Even me, I'm from Mississippi, and my great-grandparents, they weren't vegan per se, but they consumed a lot less animal products. It was mainly vegetation and fruit, because they had to grow it themselves, right? I'm in Mississippi now. They couldn't even get to a grocery store. They all in the country, right? So it was a lot of vegetation, and they lived to be very old in their age and still strong, right? And still happy and vibrant and have in their right minds, because they were eating a lot of vegetation, a lot of fruits and vegetables. And we have to understand that and keep that in mind when it comes to putting our body in the best, healthiest state that we possibly can. And I feel like being plant-based is the best way to do that, Yeah.
Well, guys, this was great. I really don't want to end the conversation, but Justin and I are both personal trainers, helping people get in shape. So I actually have a client, that I have to train later on. But I don't know if Justin is willing, at some point we'll have him back, if that's okay, because we are going to have a series. Justin is first in the series of people who are going to come on and talk about it. We have two other, I would say, vegan heavy hitters that are going to come on the next 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. And this was fun. This was like just having a conversation and just enjoying going over the facts, going over the evidence. And this is usually the point of the show where I give the guests an opportunity to tell people what they have next, what they're working on, and to also share their socials at this moment.
Okay, yeah, perfect, man. What I have coming up next is I'm actually doing a challenge for people who are, vegan or looking to go vegan. It's going to be like a 21-day challenge just to help them make the transition or become the healthiest version of themselves in this 2024 year. But also my socials are YouTube, Fueled by Plants, Instagram, Fueled by Plants. Everywhere it's Fueled by Plants with 2 Z's at the end, so they can follow me there, check me out, and I post a whole lot of good content. So yeah,
yes,
come on, follow me there.
Yes, he does, and it's very informative. You guys should follow. I mean, I enjoy going on his page and just once I see the tagline, I click on it. So I definitely enjoy the information that he shares there. Well, guys, that's it. We had another great episode. We have Justin Strickland, Fueled by Plants. Again, I want to make that appeal to you to make health personal and make the choice to be you. It's really up to you to, take the ball in your court and make a decision for your health. And this is why, this podcast is called I Choose Health, because it's really up to you. Each and every day, we get to make the right choices or bad choices, but it's really up to us. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully there was a lot of insightful information, something that you can really go away with and start to really make long-lasting changes. So with that, this is I Choose Health Podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Lessie, and I hope you guys have a great one.
All right, man.